Good morning. I'm an addict named Austin. I got clean here at Serenity House in Abilene, Texas on October 19th, 2014. It's a little chilly again here in Abilene. Let's read the Just for Today. March 20th, higher power. Most of us have no trouble admitting that addiction had become a destructive force in our lives. Our best efforts resulted in even greater destruction and despair. At some point, we realized that we needed the help of some power greater than our addiction. Most of us know without a doubt that our lives have been filled with destruction. Learning that we have a disease called addiction helps us understand the source or cause of this destruction. We can recognize addiction as a power that has worked devastation in our lives. When we take the first step, we admit that the destructive force of addiction is bigger than we are. We are powerless over it. At this point, our only hope is to find some power greater than the force of our addiction. A power bent on preserving life, not ending it. We don't have to understand it or even name it. We only have to believe that there could be such a higher power. The belief that a benevolent power greater than our addiction just might exist gives us enough hope to stay clean, a day at a time. Just for today, I believe in the possibility of some power that's bigger than my addiction. And I can remember after 2 decades of using, just being beat up by the disease of addiction, right? I had times free from drugs, right? Like when I ended up running out of options and I had to clean up to be able to go somewhere, and I'd go somewhere and get a job, and I wasn't really using very much because I didn't have any money, right? And then so I would do really good at that job, get promoted, get paid, get a work vehicle, a gas card, a phone, all that stuff. And the disease of addiction would march me up to the edge of the cliff every time. And it didn't even have to tell me to jump, I would jump. And so there's been periods in my life when things were good and I was still being ran by the disease of addiction. And that made the shame and the guilt and the devastation even worse, right? And so I can remember being completely tired, beat up, and done with, I can remember being in the county jail for 7.5 months, waiting to go to state jail, being in state jail, and wholeheartedly believing I would never use again. I was done. It wasn't for me. Lots of time praying, lots of time wishing, hoping, thinking how I was going to avoid drugs when I got out. And it wasn't 30 minutes after I got off the bus back in my hometown that I was already back at it again. And I realized that that it was something way bigger than me, that I needed help. I didn't immediately get help. I still went back to using, caught some more charges, but I can remember in my soul, right? Like just surrendering to the fact that I had no control over my life, no control over drugs, and that I needed some help. Naturally, it took a little while before God put that help in my life, right? Because I didn't go looking for it. I had just given up. And so when I came to treatment and I had some spiritual experiences, I believed that God was real. What I didn't believe or didn't know is that that power could lead me away from using drugs. I thought I was just going to be an addict the rest of my life. And so I'm grateful that whenever, and in the beginning, like the treatment center was my higher power, because I got here and I could only think of inside of what was going on here. And so I just did what they asked me to do. After treatment, it was the program of Narcotics Anonymous. And to be really honest, the halfway house I lived in, I just really focused on what was going on around me and staying clean. Now, don't get me wrong, there was plenty of distractions. But I let these things be my higher power, because I didn't understand that my higher power had done these things for me, right? God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. He brought me to this program that I believe is a spiritual program. And so, but at the time, I just needed to know how to not get high for one day at a time, right? And so after working the program and being involved in a little while, and there were some things, especially when I checked into treatment and along the way, where it was obvious there was a higher power working in my life. Those things weren't coincidences. There was something else going on. I just wasn't able to reach it in my mind at the time, right? I was never a non-believer. I just needed to focus on not using. And so the further along in the program I got, come to find out there was a higher power working for me the whole time. And one of the most powerful things for me is when my sponsor said, write down what you think God is, and on another sheet, write down what you want God to be. And let's let this be your God for now. And come to find out, my higher power is all those things and more and way more. And so I'm really grateful for a higher power that did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And now that I'm on board with it, I live a pretty blessed life, and I believe that that you will too if you surrender to this program, this way of life. And just to be really honest, I never really completely surrendered because I didn't believe that this would work for me, right? So I always knew that there might be a day when I'd have to go back at it, right? But there was enough surrender and enough belief in this program that I've been clean today for a little over 10 years. And so I'm super grateful for that. I'm grateful for Serenity House. I'm grateful for Narcotics Anonymous. If you're struggling and you need help, please reach out. Thank y'all for tuning in today. I hope you have a good day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.